Hi, welcome to a Friday Selections webcast for the Morehead-Cain. This is where we take your frequently asked questions from the week and provide some answers, and then pass it off to a few of our current Morehead-Cain scholars to give their advice and reflections on both the application process and what it means to be a Morehead-Cain at Carolina. So let's start with a couple of questions from the week. The first we've heard a few times from both counselors and students alike is, what is physical vigor? Physical vigor is one of our selection criteria. We have 4 selection criteria: scholarship, leadership, moral force of character, and physical vigor. Those are the things we're looking for when we make our decisions about Morehead-Cains. Physical vigor is a really archaic way of saying we want you to have been active physically in your life, that you have a lifelong commitment to physical activity. That could mean that you play a varsity sport at your school or with a travel team or something. It also could mean that you do something on your own, that you're passionate about a sport that doesn't have a connection to a team. Think about you practice Taekwondo, or you're a dancer or a rock climber. Those things are incredibly physically taxing. They take a lot of preparation and time, but they're not the same as playing varsity baseball. Either one of those things can demonstrate a commitment, lifelong commitment to physical activity. In the application for the Morehead-Cain, there's a section on physical vigor. All we ask is that you make a case. What have you done that's shown that commitment to physical activity? I also want to remind you that students with physical disabilities are certainly welcome to apply for the Morehead-Cain, and that physical vigor requirement doesn't preclude us from pushing you forward in our selection process. The second question I want to address this week is the application to the Morehead-Cain the same as the application to UNC for admission? And the answer is no. We are a separate foundation from Carolina. Applying for the Morehead-Cain is a separate process from applying for admission to UNC. You should do both things, but we don't care if you apply early action to UNC or regular decision to UNC, just that you apply at some point for admission to Carolina. So as you're preparing your application for the Morehead-Cain, keep in mind that you should also apply to UNC. Otherwise, you can't accept your Morehead-Cain scholarship and become a student at Carolina. So with that, we're gonna pass it off to a few scholars for some tips, their tips about how to prepare a thoughtful application.
First of all, take a breath. When I was writing these essays, it felt so high stress. Every single word that I put on paper was the only word that they would ever think about or epitomize me by this word. And what you need to know is that this essay is a place for you to talk about what you care about and what you love. And so for me, it was hard to choose a topic because I wanted to make the most impressive choice. But I knew deep inside that what I really wanted to do was write about something that I cared about and write an essay that I enjoyed to write. And when I really decided that that was what I was gonna do, because I just wanted to do it, that's when my essay became something that I was not only proud to submit, but something that I really enjoyed writing.
So looking back at my application process, I think there's 2 things I can give you advice on. First is choosing your recommender. So I chose someone who knew me in 2 different lights. So my field hockey coach was also my A-push teacher, so she could give a perspective of me in the classroom and on the field, which is 2 totally different people. I'm much louder on the field hockey field. I scream very often. I like to hype up the team. Whereas in class, I'm the person who sits a little farther back and kind of just takes it all in. So she knew me in 2 different lights. Then when it comes to your 5 beyond the labels, or random tidbits about yourself, it's awesome to think about your essays and the big activities you do, but these are 5 small things you do, and the small things define you just as much as the big things. They don't have to make any kind of sense. They don't have to work together. They're totally random. They can be facts about yourself, things you do, but they just show insight into who you are and probably pretty awesome things that you do. So best of luck.
So I essentially heard about the Morehead-Cain through a teacher. I had no idea what it was. It was just this vague entity that sounded kind of cool, but I didn't really know where to take it from there. I wasn't particularly sure about applying to America. I wasn't sure whether that's where I wanted to be, until I was lucky enough to have someone come and speak to us at school, and that completely changed my outlook. I thought it went from being why to why not. So then I thought, let's give it a go. And in terms of the actual application process, from my experience, I remember it being very genuine. So what I wrote was what I felt and who I was, because I genuinely didn't have anything else to say. I couldn't weave in anything particularly interesting apart from what I had done. With hindsight, I think I was lucky, in a sense that me being as genuine as I could was the best representation I could give of myself, and it meant that when I got to interview, I had a good platform from which to base whatever I needed to say, and I guess that would be my main kind of sort of advice to you guys would be essentially pick the things you're interested in, get them on a piece of paper, and then work them into the application. Because it's not about how much you know about the University of North Carolina, it's not about how much you know about the Morehead-Cain Scholarship, where, I mean, I would advise do some research, but it's mostly about who you are. So that would be my main advice. Just go out there and don't try and be anything you're not. Don't try and be the University of North Carolina. Don't try and be the Morehead-Cain Scholarship. Just be yourself, and the rest should take its course.